So right now we're working on this Farmall C. So we picked up this tractor. When we got it, it had the cultivators and it was in pretty rough condition. So then we did a little bit of work to it. We got it running. Actually, all I had to do to get it running was clean the points and put a fresh battery on it and some fresh gas, and it fired right up. And my dad did a lot of cleaning up, sanding, wire brushing while I was at school, and he primed it, and we just put this first coat of paint on. And as you can tell, we're getting ready to paint it here. So this video is gonna go over my process of painting a tractor with a HVLP spray gun. Here's the spray gun I'm going to use, the Harbor Freight HVLP gravity feed. As you can see, we've used it to paint a John Deere B before. So a couple things you have to buy. Get the one that comes with the regulator that screws into the gun. And then also get one of these inline filters. Then as far as the compressor, I've got a Craftsman 20-gallon, 6.2 cubic feet per minute at 90 PSI. And then right out of the compressor, I have the Central Pneumatic Harbor Freight 3/8 air dryer. Then as far as the spray booth, so my dad set up this little wood booth real quick. And then we're gonna put this 4mm plastic sheeting on it. So here's what we have for paint. We have this Tallman's Ag Specialty Coatings tractor enamel, and the color is IH red, and the code is 2150. But the people that make this Tallman's coating is Van Sickle. So you can get this Tallman's stuff from multiple different sites, but you can go to Van Sickle's website and get it for a little bit cheaper, and you can also get spray cans of the exact same color. So we have the paint, the reducer, and this is hardener from Tractor Supply. So the ratio, Van Sickle says not to put clear coat over this paint, and they say to do a 8:1:3, 8 parts paint, 1 part hardener, 3 parts reducer. Now, just for one last clean, I have a little bit of lacquer thinner in the jug, in the container there. Shake it around, and then let it all come out. Now we want about 1.6 ounces. Then you can also use mineral spirits to thin this enamel paint. Now 4 to 5 ounces. We'll start with 4. Just look at the consistency and you'll know whether you should add a little reducer or not. That is looking pretty good. I'm gonna add a little more. It's about a little thicker than the consistency of water, I would say. Now this funnel has a screen in it, so that will get all the chunks out. Now we can put our respirators on. This is the one I'm using. Thank you to the person who sent this off my Amazon wish list. Well, here it is 2 days after paint. We've already taken off most of the tape because we wanted to wait a couple days for the paint to harden, even though it dries to the touch pretty much overnight, but you want to wait a little longer. I think it turned out pretty good. I did miss a couple spots, so I went like a little bit in here. I had to touch up with a small brush yesterday. Let's get these wheels on. Bearings. Back it off. One different. Got 3 of the 4 tires back on. Now let's put this last one on.
Your way.
Now we're getting ready to paint the sheet metal and the rest of the parts that wouldn't fit in here when we were painting the rest of the tractor. Alright, now I'm done with the final sanding, and we have everything about where we want it to be, so we're not going to be touching it with our hands much more. So I'm going to take some acetone, just a little bit. Got the paint mixed up, otherwise you'll get little chunks and stuff in your paint. Alright, now let's spray it. First coat down. Now we're gonna give it 10-15 minutes and hit it with another coat. Alright, we're just cleaning up the stuff after the second coat, and we'll see how it looks in the morning. So we moved the Farmall over to this bay of the garage, all done with the paint, and we also painted the sheet metal. We swapped it with the John Deere B. Just finished rebuilding the transmission on this. If you haven't already, go check out that video after you finish watching this one. And then we're going to be painting this one as well. But for now, let's start putting stuff back together. And here's a bunch of parts that came in from Riley Tractor Parts. Got 2 oil filters. We got a light ring. A bunch of the brake return springs. Light switch. Light bracket. Got 2 new sealed beam headlights. a new seat spring, and battery box. Alright, so I started putting the seat back together, but I forgot that this bolt, I had to cut it to get it off. So I'm going to replace it with a full-size bolt across the whole way and just drill out that side. See how it's smaller there? But I don't have a long enough bolt. So that part is on hold. Then I came to the front of the tractor, put the upper water pipe on. This is also where the fan mounts. And I have to wait for the silicone to dry before I can do anything else there. And I put the hub covers on with a little bit of silicone there. Don't have to do much. All this has to do is keep the water out. And then now I'm working on getting the oil filter on. Here's a new filter. It's a Fleet Guard LF618. You can still get these from most stores. I'm going to put some grease on the gasket so it doesn't stick in there like what happened last time.
What's your adapter for the 1/2 inch slugging?
I got the spark plugs in, brand new Autolite 386s. I use Autolite spark plugs on pretty much all my tractors, haven't had a problem. Now I want to put the distributor on, and I was going to put new points and condenser and stuff in here, but clearly those are not the same. And it did run with these on it, so I'm just going to put it back on. Now we have to put the distributor on, but you have to get the timing right. So first, come to your distributor cap, and it should be marked number 1 by the number 1 spark plug wire, or you could just hold it up and you can see this wire goes to number 1. Then you're going to want to come to your distributor and put the little spinny thing in it, spin it to approximately pointing to where the number 1 distributor wire is. So you can see number 1's right here, and we're pointing there.
Covers.
So now you're going to want to turn the engine over until the number 1 cylinder is at top dead center, so you can look in there. And so what I do is I put my thumb over the spark plug hole and spin it until I hear air coming out, because that means it's on the compression stroke. Then I look in there and watch until the piston comes to the top, and then stop, and then you're at number 1 top dead center. So we're up and down here, side to side there, but should be fine. So we can turn this to be side to side. And afterwards we can loosen this bolt and then twist this part of the distributor to fine tune the timing. Alright, there's the distributor on. Now to put these spark plug wires on, just start at number 1. Number 1 is always the first cylinder to fire. Then next cylinder in the order is number 3. So go down the line here. And we got number 3, then 4, so continue to the next one, 4, and then number 2. Now I want to put more stuff on the front of the engine on. So we've got the fan here, just bolts onto that upper radiator pipe. I cleaned up the threads with a thread file and then used a tap to clean up the nut. And I've got new belts. So here's the one that drives the fan. Here's the one that drives the generator. So now we can tension the belt by just lifting up. Gonna have to hold that up with like a pry bar and then tighten it down the nut. That should be good. It's gonna loosen up once it wears in, but you know it's tight enough when you can spin over the engine with it. So I put this bracket on that holds the radiator. I also put the bracket for the generator. I'm gonna put the voltage regulator on. Then I'm gonna start figuring out what has to go for the radiator. Actually, I'm gonna put new oil. I'm gonna drain the oil out of here because you can't really get to the front steering box. Just got my little cardboard funnel there, draining the fluid out. It's a good sign that there actually is fluid in there. A lot of times the seal in the bottom will go bad and the oil will drain out around there. But this fluid doesn't look too bad. Get some fresh stuff in there and be good to go for another 40 years. Alright, I just filled it up with 85W140 gear oil. Filled it up to that line pretty much. Which might be a little bit over full, but it's fine. Now I'll put these plugs on and continue with the radiator. Alright, got a bunch of stuff in the mail. Got the hose, a longer generator belt. You can see this one's too short. New hose clamps, and just some other miscellaneous stuff, like a new tap to help clean up those threads. Cut the belt off. See, the old one's a 4L250. And the new one's a 4L260. Alright, got the belts tensioned up again. And now the generator's right in the middle of the adjustment, which is perfect. Then the main wire from the battery to the ammeter right here. And all the wiring on this side of the tractor's done. Got this asphalt wire loom. You can get that stuff from Brillman. Then I'm also using this braided wire. Just have white and black from Brillman. So that runs up to the coil here. Then on this side, I'm going to mount the air cleaner and then start hooking up the generator and voltage regulator. Got some new hose clamps as well. I hate mismatched hose clamps. It looks terrible in my opinion. Alright, that looks good. And I didn't even touch this carburetor because when I got it running that first time, a couple days, actually the day after we brought it home, it ran perfect. No issues, so I'm not even going to touch the carburetor. Now I'm going to try and put the radiator on. Those carriage bolts have to slip in there. So here's the one carriage bolt. You have to get like 10 things lined up at once.
About 10, 4.
Got the radiator bolted down and tightened down the hose clamps. I'm going to fill it with water. Alright, just plucking away at the Farmall here. I've been making some progress on the electrical. Well, also I got the rods on, throttle lever, goes to the carburetor. Anyway, for the electrical, I've got the ammeter in there and the new ignition switch. So I want to get the brakes put back together, and the last thing I needed were the seals. Here they are. It's an SKF 21336. So I just found these on eBay from, I think they come directly from SKF. And then to remove the old seals, I have this Lyle seal puller. So let's give this thing a shot. Dang, it popped out. Oh, there it goes. Alright. Easy enough. Just make sure this is the right size. Yeah. I'm actually going to put a little of this Sil Glide on the inside, just to try and hold that, spring in there. That helps it seal. So I found this socket. So now we can make sure this part of the drum is clean. Now carefully install this to make sure you don't mess up the seal. And then here's the other side. Just have to put the bolt and washer on. So I got the battery box painted to match the rest of the tractor and installed, got new hardware. Now we can set the battery in, and then I'm gonna start making the battery cables. So here's how I ran the battery cables. This one just goes through this existing hole down to the starter, and then I'm gonna put a clamp right there, or a little bracket to hold it, and then the ground is just right there. Remember, this is a positive ground, so red and black. Alright, this is the oil I'm gonna use. It's the Tractor Supply brand 15W40. And it takes 5 quarts. And to check the oil level, there's the 2 plugs on the side of the oil pan.
Is that the 3/4 inch?
Yes. And the outlet should face this way. Should face this side. Alright, got the gas tank on, bolted down. Also got the fuel line on, sediment bowl, filled it up with gas, and it's actually not leaking. Now, one thing we have to do before starting the tractor is we have to polarize the voltage regulator. So anytime some people say to do this anytime you unhook the battery, but usually you just do it when you change the voltage regulator. So hook from armature on the generator to the battery on the regulator. Should be a little bit of a spark, and then it should be good to go. Now let's see if it starts. Intake gasket is leaking. So here's the old gasket. Guess I didn't notice this when I was putting it back together. It's torn, but then also a piece is ripped off there, so it's thinner. So here's a new one, but another problem. This bolt hole is stripped out. Kind of grabs, but as soon as you tighten it down, it's just nothing. Alright, I want to fill up the tractor with transmission fluid. We can't get it running, but we can put $100 worth of 85 140 in it. So you're supposed to fill the transmission on these until it gets to this plug. And we're going to be filling it with the 85 W140 gear oil. That's what I put in pretty much all my tractors. Alright, that was maybe 3 quarts. Gotta go fill this thing up now. Let's go for a little bit of a trip. And this is where I keep my barrels of oil. This is 80W140, 25 gallons of it. This oil is not flowing very well. And looks like we're right up to the fill mark where it's just wanting to creep out of there. I should probably be using a wrench to do this, not pliers, but now I need to get a new plug for up here. That one's all stripped out. Alright, so it's a couple days later, and here's the solution to the stripped out hole in the carburetor. Just cut a nut really thin, and that holds it on. I already ordered a thread insert, so if we ever have to take the carburetor back off, we'll probably just put the thread insert in. Alright, now let's see if it starts. I think I was a little low on gas. So. So I guess this is a disappointing ending to the video. I'm gonna have to split the tractor. So we actually had a Farmall B that the clutch was stuck on, and we were doing kind of the same thing, slamming on the brakes while I was running, pulling it with the tractor over here. Then we also tied it to that tree back there. You can't see it, but it's like 2 feet in diameter. Started it in gear with the clutch held all the way down. But it was just bouncing and bouncing. The clutch would not break free. Then we split the tractor and take the pressure plate off, and then with a screwdriver you lightly pry the clutch disc, and it just popped right off. And it was like, how is it not coming off? So I guess we're gonna have to split this one. So here it is, squeezed in the shop with the engine hoist. I already started taking some stuff off. You can see I started to make a mess with the hydraulic lines. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the video splitting this tractor.